Hello, everyone. I believe we are live, but just so I know for certain, can you folks confirm that you can hear me? All good? Okay, I'm going to assume everyone can hear me and we're all ready and good to start. Fantastic. Okay, so just as a little bit of disclosure, one of the fun things about picking a title before you prepare a talk is that sometimes the magic takes over as you're writing it up. So I actually have slightly changed the title from what it was originally intended. It is now Building a Team of Generalists, #write it down. And I hope that still contains your interest as much as the original title, that I haven't disappointed anyone before I've started. If I have, this is your moment to leave, if I have, but also please don't leave. I can promise I will at least try to be interesting and uphold to the standard you were expecting. So it looks like we have a few folks on, so let's begin. Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here today, and thank you for coming and supporting Ada's List and for joining the session. I already prompted in the chat there, but it's great if everyone could just kind of introduce themselves and say where in the world you're joining from. Seeing like people from Belfast, South Africa, London, India, which is fantastic so far. If there's anyone else out there, love to hear where you're from too. So my name is Lauren Reid, and I'm based in the UK in London. And I've worked in the tech sector for around 7 years now, after a decade of experience working arts and nonprofits in the UK and South Africa, which is where I grew up, in case anything apart from the person who is from South Africa on this chat is struggling to place what my accent is. And yeah, so I currently work at a company called Expensify. That's a fintech business specializing in expense management reporting software, and I've been there for over 5 years. My primary focus is my role there on supporting our customers, building our product, and scaling our efficiencies as a business. And I'm hoping to share some of those with you today. So to give you context into where the best practice I'm going to be sharing today comes from, it's helpful if I start with an overview of Expensify and how it operates as a business, because that's really the biggest context where I'm coming from in everything. And Expensify as an organization has a flat structure. And what that means in practice is that we don't have job titles there or a set management hierarchy, and we organize ourselves around loosely defined teams. So no one has a manager in the organization, and we remain accountable to ourselves and each other through 2 company rules, which are get shit done and don't ruin it for everyone else. And within the organization, there is a strong emphasis on everyone being hired as a generalist, which I will dig into more in a bit. But in its essence, that means we avoid pigeonholing anyone into a set role that never changes. So, for example, if you come in and you're hired as an engineer, you could expect to be working in different languages instead of coding in 1 or 2 kind of areas of your stack. Or if you're hired into our customer support team, you would be expected to talk to all of our customers about any aspects of the project, not just specific parts in any kind of, traditional vertical way. And broader than that, we also highly encourage cross-team collaboration wherever possible. So everyone in the organization has visibility into all the other teams and can join any team they like. So a tangible example of this is that a month ago, I joined our marketing team, and I'm currently ramping up to help out there my other responsibilities. And in addition to this, anyone in the organization gets the opportunity to select a mentor that they can work closely with to develop their work and life goals. And this is all cross-functional too. So, folks who are engineers can mentor people in marketing, for instance. People in HR can mentor salespeople. And the system helps ensure that everyone taking on leadership roles in the organization is doing this because they're passionate about helping their peers grow. And it's not an automatic added responsibility that comes with climbing a ladder. Overall, the impact of this structure is a very happy employee retention rate. So over 60% of employees have worked at Expensify for 4 years or more now, which was a pretty great rate. Okay, so digging a bit more into what I was referring to about generalists earlier. So let's chat a little bit more about the difference between specialists and generalists, because I think specialism is a concept that a lot more people are familiar with without necessarily labeling it as that. And I just want to walk through why we think generalism is the future at Expensify. So most job titles are usually tied to a specific scope of responsibilities and sort of pay grades, and they solve a specific problem for an organization at a particular moment in response to that organization's business needs. So that's what typically we would refer to as a specialist role. And building a business around specialists makes it incredibly hard to move in new strategic directions. That's because hiring and ramp up, as I'm sure you've all experienced in any organization, it tends to be a pretty slow process. And implementing any new strategy means that your team is going to be quickly stocked full of the wrong type of specialists, no quicker than you've hired for them and really got them ramped up and going because your strategy's pivoted by that point. And this model also frequently leads to burnt out or bored employees because they leave to pursue more interesting opportunities or growth opportunities or want to learn new specialisms. And this creates, for your HR team, an attrition problem because the organization struggles to retain, talented individuals, and all of your hiring resources really just remain focused on replacing people instead of expanding your team. By contrast, generalists master a specialism in a particular area, and then they go forward and democratize that knowledge by documenting, refining, and distributing it for others to learn from before moving on to whatever else the business needs. They mainstream all specialist knowledge within an organization, essentially. And generalists are able to quickly shift focus between problem areas in response to their business needs because of the experience that's been built up over a large amount of years. So, for a business to have a team of generalists, there are huge efficiency gains because having this team of generalists means that you're actively decentralizing responsibility away from small groups of individuals for specific tasks or functions, and ensuring your team has no single point of failure. So this means that in practice, no one's able to hold on to the power of, being the only person who knows how to do something and silo knowledge, which can have quite a toxic effect in the workplace often. You can also rapidly implement new strategies without increasing staff headcount with a team of generalists as a business, because you have a team that's always ready to break down and tackle any complex problem. And building a team of happy employees who are constantly challenged and rewarded is the best retention strategy you'll ever need as a business, because no one does the same thing day in, day out for years on end. Because that, as we said, it inevitably leads to boredom or burnout in the long run. Over on the employee end, why this is an attractive proposition to work in an organization that allows you to explore your generalist skill set is that it creates a happy environment because you're essentially being offered an unlimited career growth path and no waiting for a promotion to be rewarded with a new challenge or responsibility. Whenever you're ready for it, you can step up to the plate and kind of choose what that adventure of your career looks like in this type of environment. And this also means constant career reinvention. You don't have to start from the bottom at a new place to explore your interest in new areas and see if you want to pursue them there. And also everyone can take extended absences, life breaks without worrying that someone's going to steal your job or your role will be obsolete. Because you're already, used to and agile with regards to the environment changing constantly as a generalist. Okay. So how do you build a team of generalists in an organization? And some of the things we found really work at Expensify are asking our team to democratize access to knowledge. And literally, that just means writing it down wherever possible. Always aim to remove yourself as the only person who knows how to do something. And as soon as you learn how to do it, teach others and ensure it's captured for others to find, when you're not online, when you're not in the workplace. And that's a big part of why this is important for it to be written, so others can find it. And this means building a culture in your organization that frowns upon anyone hoarding knowledge and rewarding those who actually go on to share that knowledge. But then you can take it one step further and make sure you give everyone access to those knowledge resources. Make everything public in your organization by default, and reserve private access on documents to things that are naturally sensitive. Obviously, I'm not saying go and give everyone access to everyone's payroll information. That would be silly and probably illegal. But, really, really think through, why does something need to have restricted access? And make sure that's only, for a small portion of documentation within your organization and a small portion of your resources. Ensure that anyone can search for anything, no matter the time of day, and make sure they're not stuck on needing access to a specific folder to be able to perform any core business needs because someone hasn't given them access for an arbitrary reason. And lastly, you can really break down your walls by creating a one-team environment where everyone is invited to everything. That means trusting your employees to manage their time and decide what they want to use their time for. Maybe that means engineers helping marketing define the social media strategy. That's great. The customer team helping, the engineering team ship code. That's awesome. When everyone is invited to everything, the end result, and whether that means meetings, Slack channels, calendars, documents, folders, repos, you name it. This is where the true creativity comes alive for many people, because people want to be challenged by a diverse set of problems. Okay, so now that I've sold this kind of idea of generalists as in the workplace as a concept to you, maybe some of you are on the fence, but I hope some of you are sticking with me here. I can also hear you thinking, that seems great, but there's absolutely no way I can go in on Monday and, just sit down with the CEO of my organization and go, okay, you know what? We're all going to become generalists, and I think we should scrap the management structure, boss. That's not realistic for the majority of people. Because ultimately we're talking about creating a completely new framework that could take years to implement in any organization, which really isn't a realistic goal. And I completely appreciate that. But I do think that there are actually some smaller, tangible steps that everyone can take in their organizations to reap the benefits of efficiency that generalism can teach us as a concept. So the simplest place to start to looking at how we can sort of think about generalism helping us in the workplace is to think about how we approach internal communication and meetings. And for me, this is also known as the dreaded Zoom call. And a couple months into lockdown, I kind of saw the memes floating around and kind of all these long articles about everyone getting Zoom fatigue. And I realized that I wasn't really aware of anyone in my workplace who was suffering from Zoom fatigue, at least in their kind of 9 to 5 hours, perhaps in a social setting they were, but definitely not anything that was encouraged by the workplace. And that's because we've actually had a policy for a couple of years now that there shouldn't be any need for a group meeting, whether that's in person in the office or on video calls. There's still a place for one-to-ones, using these mediums, that absolutely is still okay. But we're humans after all. We need a bit of one-to-one interaction. And for other sort of discrete, sensitive purposes. But overall, we kind of really feel that there is no need to have group meetings. And the reason behind this is that when you break it down, synchronous meetings are actually very exclusive. They rely on a group of people all being online at the exact same time, and they very quickly create a division between who can attend